635 AD. The Gospel of John was written around 100 AD. So 535 years came after the Gospel of John. John is an eyewitness, my dear Muhammad.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I would like to expose the lies of this old man. Of course, I'm also an old man. He is my twin as an old person. He said that the book of John or the New Testament or the Bible, he said, particularly, I'm thinking he was referring to the New Testament. That Islam came, he said, in 635 AD. We don't believe it, but this is what he said, that Islam came during 635 AD. And the book of John was written in 100 AD. So he said that there is a distance of the book of John and to the Quran or to the propagation of Islam about 535 AD. So it's about, we say about 600, we say just 600 to make it more pleasant. We say about 700 to be comfortable to the timeline. 700 AD, the distance of the New Testament, particularly the book of John, to Islam or Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam preaching, is about 700 AD. 700 years, the distance. So, cannot be accepted as authentic, unbelievable. We cannot believe it. And he said, because this came late. And how can you believe when the book of John was already existing about 700 or 600 AD before Islam? This argument, which I will hold this argument, the time frame, the chronological order, the distance of years, numbers of years. Let us hear.
Islam came in 635 AD. The Gospel of John was written around 100 AD. So 535 years came after the Gospel of John. John is an eyewitness, my dear Muhammad.
We don't disagree. We believe that John, the disciples, because this time is, we are talking about John. The Gospel of John, particularly, he was quoting about the book of John. I myself believe, no argument at all, that John was with Jesus Christ and he documented daily what he saw during the time of Jesus Christ. He documented it fresh. Okay? I agree with it. There's no argument. Okay? But what is now put into discussion is the present book today. The present book of John existing today in your hand and in my hand. Okay? Is this the book written by John during the time of Jesus Christ? Let us hear from the Bible scholars. If this is really the book written during the time of John. Now, let us come to this Bible. You see this? This is the Holy Bible of the New American Bible. The New American Bible. This Bible is owned by the Catholic. It has 73 books. And there are about 69 persons, individuals, who testified, who sacrificed, who made effort in order this book to be produced. The name mentioned, the most well-known for the Filipino, I will just mention most well-known name for the Filipino community. is the re-imprime protest Jaime L. Cardinal Sin, Arch Episcopus Manilensis, August 31, 1984. Okay? This is copyright. This is printed and copyright in 1987. What is mentioned in the book of John? To this New American Bible, the New Catholic Translation, about John, the introduction of John. This is to be found in this book, to be found in page 1188. It's mentioned, I will quote in the second paragraph. It's mentioned, critical analysis makes it difficult to accept the idea that the gospel as it now stands was written by one person, meaning the book of John in your hand now. What it means? It means it is difficult to accept the idea that the gospel as it is now stands was written by one person. The scholars themselves didn't believe that the book of John written by one person. It continues. Chapter 21 seems to have been added after the gospel was completed. It exhibits a Greek style, meaning 20 from chapter 1 to 20, it's finished. The chapter 21, they said it's additional because the rest, I will continue, it is an additional, okay? Exhibit a Greek style somewhat different from the rest of the work. See, the chapter 21 compared to the rest from John chapter 1 to 20, the style of the writing of chapter 21 is totally different. So the scholars did not accept that this is included in the book of John. It is added according to them. Okay. The prologue, chapter 1, verse 1 to 18, the prologue apparently contains an independent hymn, meaning separate, independent hymn, subsequently adapted to serve as a preface to the gospel. It's only adapted, meaning it is not originally written by John, but it is an hymn, independent, adapted, meaning adapted as a preface to the gospel of John. Adapted, just adapted. Imagine, and you said this is the book of John, written, documented by John during the time of Jesus Christ. I'm not saying this. The Bible itself, it continues. Within the gospel itself, there are also some inconsistencies. The gospel also, there are some inconsistencies. I am saying, no, the scholar themselves. This is the introduction of John. Inconsistencies. Third paragraph, in the third paragraph. Other difficulties for any theory of eyewitness authorship of the gospel in its present form are presented by its high developed theology and by certain elements of its literary style. Okay, this is according to the introduction. Although, it continues, although tradition identified this person as John, the tradition identified as John, the son of Zebedee. Most modern scholars, meaning if there are 100 scholars, 90 or 95 most modern scholars disagree. Okay, it means modern scholars find that the evidence does not support this. The tradition which believed that John wrote the book of John, written by John, is according to the tradition, modern scholars, modern scholars find that the evidence does not support this. And according to the scholars, meaning they don't agree that this book written by John, this is anonymous book. Other also findings, John, the book of John is anonymous. The last paragraph of page 1188 of the introduction of John, in the last paragraph, the final editing of the gospel and arrangement in its present form probably dates from between AD 90 to 100. If it is written by John himself, daily basis, he wrote about the life of Jesus Christ. Why it's mentioned according to the scholar was written from 90 to 100 AD. Why it is not mentioned 34 AD, 35 AD, 36 AD, or we said 30 AD? Because John was a companion of Jesus Christ. What year did Jesus Christ walking on this earth? 35, 36, 37 AD, 40 AD, Jesus is no longer here on this earth. Why the Bible, according to the scholar, was written 90 years or 100 years after the disappearance of Jesus Christ? We see minus 33 or minus 34. More or less, there are about 60 to 70 years, about, we say, 7 decades, the book of John being produced. And where is your lie? And if you insist that John writing this book, why the scholars never agree?
So you're telling me that now I need to believe in someone coming 6 centuries or 7 centuries after the Holy Bible was documented. You want me to believe in a document that came 7 centuries after the Holy Bible.
Now let us examine your statement, my brother, Archbishop or Bishop, Reverend or Priest, the old man, talking to you also an old man. You insisted that how can you believe the Quran or Islam or Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam never saw, never touched, never witnessed, or eyewitness during the time of Jesus Christ. Okay? And how many years you said? It's about 600 years or 700 years after Jesus Christ. Now, going back, I will let you swallow what you said. Okay? Go back to Pentateuch. The Pentateuch, the so-called book of Moses, according to history, Bible history, this is the Genesis alone. The Genesis it's written about 4,000 BCE. 4,000 BCE. The Genesis alone. Now, if you go to Wikipedia, Wikipedia has mentioned that the Pentateuch, namely Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, the so-called Pentateuch, the book of Moses, was written about in 2nd millennium BCE. About millennium meaning 2,000 years BCE. Imagine the gap of this of 5 books of Moses, which is well known in Christianity, used by Christianity, the Pentateuch, the gap of 2,000 years.
You want me to believe in someone that never saw Jesus, never lived with Jesus, never walked with Jesus, over the one who walked, lived, ate, embraced Jesus Christ every single day for 3 years and 4 months.
Jesus Christ. Did Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, these so-called witnesses of Jesus Christ, saw Moses? Did they touch Moses? They talk to Moses, including Jesus and these disciples of Jesus have seen Moses. Because this is your allegation. How can you believe Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or the writings or the Quran, which in fact there is John, who was in daily basis, meet Jesus Christ and talk to Jesus Christ, whereas the 700 years had passed. You all, what you forced us to believe this is the book of God, which in fact, the gap about 600 and 700 AD. Okay. Then the question is, why do you believe the book of Moses to be authentic as Pentateuch written by Moses himself, that it was even 2,000 years between Jesus and Moses, about 2,000 years? Where is your intellect? Do I have to reject also? Why you do not reject? Why you do not reject the New Testament? Because the New Testament, the Old Testament, the Pentateuch, ahead of 2,000 years. So why you accepted the book of the New Testament, which in fact, the book of Moses was already existing at that time, 2000 BCE, before the coming of Jesus Christ, right? So what's funny of your argument? So nonsense. Your argument is invalid. Your discussion full of flaws, full of discrepancies, full of contradictions by yourself. Because the book of Moses, the gap of 2,000 years. And in Genesis, according to the other history, the Genesis even written about 4,000 BCE, the Genesis. Whether it's 4,000 BCE or 2,000 BCE, I don't care. But the fact, the scholars, the historians said, the gap of Jesus Christ and the Pentateuch, about 2,000 years. Why you accepted, why you swallowed the New Testament, which in fact, the books already existing prior to the New Testament? Or why you do not reject the book of Moses? You rejected the gap of 600 or 700 years because of the span, the time frame. How about the time frame of the New Testament and the Pentateuch? I'm not talking other books in the Old Testament. For particular, only the Pentateuch. Why you accepted? It's either you must reject the New Testament or reject the Old Testament. Old Testament, because of 2,000 years gap. Thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. May Allah reward you all. May Allah guide you. Subhanakallah Allahumma bihamdika. Asyhadu an la ilaha anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.